Mr. Owolabi Azeez, can you kindly take the floor and introduce yourself and what you do?
Good evening, everyone.
I mean,
Yeah, my name is Owolabi Azeez. I work as a sub engineer for Identical Solution Limited. I've had a couple of years of experience in IT infrastructure.
all right, thank you very much. It's nice to have you
Yeah.
here. Mr. Michael, you have the floor. Can you kindly introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Olowoyo. I'm a software engineer. I work with InterSwitch, and I have about 3 to 4 years experience in software engineering, software development. Thank you.
I thank you very much. It's nice to have you here. And Mr. Ifeoluwa, can you kindly introduce yourself?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Ifeoluwa Osungade. I'm a lead software engineer and I work with the World Bank. I have about 10 years experience building backend services and softwares across the board. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's also nice to have you here. And so the topic for today's webinar is behind the apps, how backend and SysOps engineers keep everything running. We'll be asking our guests a few questions so they can help us with insights on the topic. Mr. Ifeoluwa, my first question goes to you. What does a backend engineer do on a daily basis?
Thank you for that question. So the role of a backend engineer start basically with designing, especially so on a daily basis for my own role. So what I do basically comes across, basically around designing and implementation. So designing basically means how the system talks to each other, what are the various dependencies, what are the various connections that needs to exist, and how will it be structured? Because everything boils down to the backend structure, because without that, the front end, the mobile apps, the web apps, or every other system that depends on it's not going to work. So as a backend engineer, I interface with a lot of people because I'm working with the DBAs, I'm working with network guys, I'm working with all sort of people just to make sure that my system, the client can connect to the backend application or services, and it is compliant with all the necessary regulations that the organizations are set up, and also market standards, basically. So collaboration with people, designing, and also implementing. So that's what my day cuts across, and that's what I think every typical backend engineer does as well.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Owolabi, my next question is for you. What are the main tasks of a SysOps engineer?
Basically, just like Mr. Ifeoluwa said, just talked about, SysOps are actually the heart of the system. Part of our major tasks that we do on a daily basis, we make sure we see that whatever the backend engineer does are working optimizely. So we ensure the system health is up, the servers are running, the network is running smoothly, all apps and patches have updates. So we make sure the system is 100% available. Those are the major tasks we do.
Thank you. Mr. Michael, how do you see the roles of the backend engineers and SysOps engineers evolving in the next 3 years?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Every engineer and the system operation team, they work hand in hand to ensure that they build scalable solutions, and in the next foreseeable future, they'll work together to ensure that customer needs are actually met. And basically, just like my colleague has said, so there are standards that wouldn't be compromised. So it's a long term solution that they all build together to ensure that customers are giving value for their money.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ifeoluwa, what
Yes.
is the importance of backend development in app performance?
With respect to the performance of an application as far as backend is involved, let me put it this way. When think of it as a construction of a house, basically. So one of the key things that needs to be in place is the foundation. So if the foundation is poorly designed, it will not be sufficient or not be capable to hold the building that will be placed on it. So if the backend is poorly designed, it's definitely going to affect the user experience of the front end users or the application at the end of the day. So one of the key things that needs to be prioritized is the efficiency of the backend. You can easily improve your front end, but once you get your backend wrong, you find it difficult. Performance issues, scalability issues is also one of the things you have to deal with, because things will just start falling apart. And though it's easier to fix because it doesn't affect the what's it called? It's not like front end that you have to factor in the various screens and all those things. But the back end is very important because that's like the powerhouse of everything you have to do. And in terms of security, for instance, as well, if you don't get that right, it means you are liable to a lot of criminal activities, and that can also ruin your business. So I think it's one of the major bits of software development that needs very key focus, and you can't afford to get it wrong.
All right, thank you very much for your answer. Mr. Owolabi, why are SysOps rules essential for maintaining system stability?
Basically, one of the most important role there is availability, because without availability, whatever software or application you have there, the users, which are the end users, can't have access. So you need to make sure the system is up and running 100%. So it's key. Availability and performance is the watchword there.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Michael, how do these engineers, the backend engineers, SysOps engineers, and all other tech engineers, how do they work together to ensure the app is successful?
Okay, so great communication is key, and there are several ways by which the front end team, the back end engineers, the system engineers, the network guys work together. So usually there's the agile way of working, which is an iterative way, whereby it actually allows room for a very good way of collaboration between different teams, and it's been very helpful.
All right, thank you very much. And I want to say this to people listening. If you have any questions at any point in time, you can either raise your hand or you can type your questions in the chat box. Mr. Ifeoluwa, my next question is for you. What key skills should every backend engineer have?
Okay. In terms of the skills to have as a backend engineer, I'll basically break it down to technical skills and soft skills, because as a backend engineer, as Michael stated, collaboration is key. You need to be able to interface with your stakeholders, and you need to be able to translate business requirement to technical implementations. That's key. So you need to be able to communicate your ideas, especially depending on the level at which you are, whether you're a mid-senior or a senior, a lead. So communication is key, and collaboration is one of the key things that you need to have. And looking at the technical part of the things you need to put in place is, or skill sets you need to have, is critical thinking, because you should be able to think in terms of scalability by default, in the sense that, okay, this thing I'm designing, what's the limit of the capability of what I'm designing? If I'm to cater for 10x users. Is this going to be sufficient? So you need to be able to think beyond, what's it called? Beyond what you are doing and factor in every possible edge cases as possible. So because the system will be tested or will be used by different type of users, and your system should be able to accommodate as many use cases as possible. So technical problem solving skills is important, and thinking with scalability are by default.
All right, that was a very solid answer. Thank you so much for that. Mr. Owolabi, what are the valuable skills that anyone in a SysOps position should have?
We're looking at, like Mr. Ifeoluwa said, they are soft and the technical skills. But as a SysOps, one critical skills I always try to look out for, and I see it as coming to place in most cases, is your analysis skills. You should be able to analyze when it comes to troubleshooting. You have to be patient as well. You need to also have experience when it comes to configuration in terms of technical skills. You see, then also, basically, you should also be looking at things like having networking experience. Knowing what to do when the network is down is a critical skills when you're trying to become a SysOps. Because the foundation of your infrastructure management also has to rely on the skills you have when it comes to networking as well.
Thank you for that. Mr. Michael, what common challenges do backend engineers and SysOps engineers face?
Basically, backend engineers and SysOps. So the first one is scalability, right? So when a backend builds or writes a code, writes an API, so one of the challenges to ensure that the code that he or she has written is scalable, and also is also consistent. Then the DevOps or the SysOps engineer, helps to check how viable or how scalable the API is. They help ensure that there's no downtime. They also ensure that the code that the backend has written is security compliant, and help to ensure that it passes the continuous integration and continuous delivery.
Thank you. Mr. Ifeoluwa, I also want you to add your input to the question.
Okay, I think one of the major challenges is misalignment, especially when it comes to things around networking, pipeline setups, and code. So, and infrastructure setup sometimes. So sometimes misalignment in the sense that let's say something around auto scalability setup and code, and the SysOps engineers are not truly aware of the potential scale of the spike that can happen, or when some monitors are down or some parameters are not being configured properly. So one major thing is misalignment across the team. And then the other thing again is not being fully carried along with the business requirement, which also is part of the misalignment on a global scale, which also involves product managers and co. So that's one of the major challenges I think happens between those two roles.
All right, that's interesting. Mr. Owolabi, how do you handle cases of emergencies or system failures?
So when you have emergency, it is something that is quite not expected. So, but in designing your infrastructure, you definitely will have develop or design and have a DR site with an 100% failover that takes up once there is a system downtime. So you must at every point have a failover available. So that helps to minimize your downtime and gives you enough time to troubleshoot and investigate whatever will have caused that system failure within the shortest possible time.
Okay, and in the event where you are not able to solve it as quickly as possible, what's the next line of action? What do you do?
You have to escalate in that case. You just have to escalate. But most times it depends on your DR. Once your DR site is up, definitely you minimize your downtime. There is no how it will, except the network is completely down, which in most cases, the chances of that happening is probably around 40-50%.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Michael, you want to add something?
Yeah, just like Mr. Owolabi said, there's also the active solution, where multiple system and data centers run concurrently or simultaneously to handle traffic or requests. And just like he mentioned, so the DR, which is very important too. So designed to provide a source of mitigation for fault tolerance, load balancing, and zero downtime failover too.
All right, thank you. So my next question is actually for you. How important is it for backend engineers and SysOps engineers to collaborate?
Collaboration, like I mentioned earlier, is quite key. You build an application, for example, but you don't know what's how it's running, right? So it's the systems team that ensures that even while you are sleeping, your code, your implementation is fine. It works fine. It also ensures that it allows for huge traffic. So it's quite, communication is quite key. Collaboration is quite key.
Mr. Ife, back to you. I want you to share a challenge you faced as a backend engineer and how you solved it.
Okay. In terms of challenges, yes, there are challenges every now and then. The one I would probably think of sharing is the one that I encountered on one of my projects. So it's basically around deployment. So we had a couple of issues after we deployed I think it was a deployment on Friday. So there was a certificate issue that we did not communicate properly to the network team. So there was an inconsistency with what the application is expected and what the network guys were expecting. So as far as traffic is concerned, the client is unable to reach the backend, and that became a whole lot of problem. So it was first, the networking team said, oh, this was their problem, and they went all along for a long period of time just for it to find out, oh, this was a backend issues. And it was a dicey situation in the sense that communication was what happened, and the contract, which is this is what we expect, this is what we've provided, was not adhered to. So which boils down to the bit of the point I made earlier, which is communication and alignment. With that, a lot of issues can be solved and the business processes can be well optimized if all entities are aware of what the necessary contracts and they follow up accordingly.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Owolabi, my next question is for you. So my question is, which tools do you find helpful in your work?
So when it comes to tool as a SysOps, the tool you basically depend mostly on is your monitoring tool, because it's very crucial for you to monitor your infrastructure. Because without monitoring, you are more or less like blind to what is happening on the entire infrastructure. So your monitoring tool is what you don't play with. Yeah.
Right, do you have any specific tools that you can recommend to other SysOps engineers?
Like the word I'm quite familiar with is Centurion. Centurion is one I can recommend.
Okay.
Then also Grafana is another good tool which you can basically use. For networking, I would recommend SolarWinds, but it's kind of marketing for this product, but these are quite on-the-shelf product, but it's another tool that is quite good for monitoring your network.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Michael, what advice would you give to newcomers in either the backend engineer or SysOps engineering space?
Thank you for the question. So the major thing, one of the major challenges or issues I've seen is new backend engineers trying to learn multiple languages at once. So, but the key thing is to learn the rudiments, learn the fundamentals, skipping foundational concepts like DSA, that's data structures and algorithm, and basic networking can actually lead to gap, and also neglecting scalability. So when you design for a product, you should bear in mind that multiple users can actually or should actually make use of your product. So design for scenarios where 1,000 users, come to use your products. So basically, those are some of the challenges or issues I've seen.
All right, thank you very much. And this is to you, Mr. Ife. The tech world is one that changes rapidly. So how do you stay updated with latest trends in backend development?
Okay, jumping on trends is quite tricky sometimes. So, but like Michael said previously, the fundamentals are very important. And you need to be true to yourself and have the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I think that's also very key. And one way one practical way I try as much as possible to stay relevant or informed is by going through the website of various organizations. So each of these big organizations, the Facebook, the Meta, the Google, they always have a blog whereby they post the things they are working on, the leading technologies, and the way they are doing things at scale, because no one has that kind of scale as well. So that's one way I get myself involved on what is relevant. And another thing I also try to do is I don't jump on every trend, because sometimes what is trending may not necessarily be applicable or useful for your use case. So that brings me to the point of where, okay, yes, you need to stay informed, but you need to stay informed on what matters based on the domain or the specific area you found yourself.
All right, thank you. And this is to you, Mr. Owolabi. Earlier, Mr. Ifeoluwa mentioned that one of the problems or challenges that engineers face is the issue of misalignment, maybe due to miscommunication. So how would you propose that engineers improve their communication skills?
I would suggest where there's a lot of more collaboration, there's a lot of off-work activity between the backend engineers and the SysOps and other team. There has to be a lot of interactions within the team?
Mr. Michael, you can speak.
Yeah, collaboration is key. Also having timeouts, hangouts, just like Mr. Olabi has said. But one other way also is documentation, right? So I believe every developer, every tech person, is not new to documentation. So like if you can document some steps, that also the SysOps engineers or the network team they have a form of documentation that is actually easy, for the backend to actually pick up. And I know with that, communication will be also improved in that way.
All right, thank you. So my next question is for you. What new technologies or new trends in backend and systems engineering are you excited about?
The advent of AI is something we should be excited about. Yes, it has its own challenges, but also it is the future actually. So AI is not coming to actually replace our jobs, no, but people that can utilize AI properly, will have an edge in the next 5-10 years. So I'm really excited about that.
All right. Mr. Ife, what role does quality assurance play in backend development?
Okay. Quality assurance. I would say it's very critical. Because I see it as like the final defense to mitigate against a problem. Let's say the developers have done what they needed to do, but they missed some step. So the QA engineers or the testers now are the ones that would say, okay, this does not meet the requirement, or functional requirement, or system requirement, or usability requirement. They are the ones that know what is expected. So it is very important. I would say it is like the final shield that can save an organization or a system from catastrophe. Yeah.
Okay. There are probably some aspiring engineers in this webinar. What resources would you recommend for someone like them that's aspiring to be an engineer?
Okay, I think the first one I always tilt towards is the free resources. YouTube is your friend. Yeah. So I think you can get everything from YouTube these days, and also all these blogs too are free, where you can just read and code. And one of the other thing I also suggest is find a mentor. Find someone that can hold your hands, that you can always ask questions, because there are times you will be stopped. There are times you won't know how to figure things out. That you just need someone to just look at it. And the final thing I would say to upcoming engineers is, it's okay not to know it in the beginning. You don't have to spend 3-4 days or a week or 10 days trying to solve a particular problem. Just ask. Some questions will be stupid initially, but as time goes on, that's like the price you pay for learning. So don't feel shy to ask anyone. The worst answer you get is a no. Then ask again, ask someone else. So the resources online, YouTube, there is Coursera, there is a whole bunch of them. But you can always explore, at least as a beginner, the free ones will do justice to most of the things you want to achieve.
All right, thank you. Mr. Owolabi, do you also have any advice for upcoming engineers?
Like Mr. Ife said, you're looking at things like online learning platforms. Most especially, you're looking at the free ones. Think like AWS free tier, that it will impact on your finances. Something to play around with, creating a simulating environment, having simulation within where you have. Try a lot of troubleshooting. to get experience where they are likely to have, where you're likely to have a course. Then also, like one key thing he said, having a mentor in that field is critical. Having a mentor is critical because the IT field is wild. So you can't learn everything at the same time. You need to have a focus, but just have an idea of a bit of every other one. But for where your core area is, you need to have a mentor that you can walk up to. It's critical as well. Because there are some scenarios you read in the book that you don't get to experience until you come to a live environment. So in that aspect, your mentor is your solution, is a helper.
So what's your advice for them in getting a mentor?
Yeah. Like when you know where your focus areas are, they are quite I'll suggest joining community. Probably if you want to become a SysOps, there are a lot of community online you can join as well. From there, you get to network and meet one or two people with years of experience in that field. You start communication, probably through friends, families. There are ways you get to meet people, especially on that field. Sign up to at that point, when you sign up to a lot of platforms, you get to meet them. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Michael, would you like to add anything?
Yes. So I know it can be challenging initially, but there's one thing newcomers need to understand, which is overcoming imposter syndrome. It's a really big challenge. Having that fear. So it's one thing, and also you can reach out to people, just like the other panelists have mentioned. Reach out to people, maybe via LinkedIn. You can reach out to them. A couple of people have reached out to me on several occasions and have been helpful. So you can reach out to people, join communities, join platforms. Don't be afraid. Ask questions. Yeah, just like if you had mentioned too, the questions might sound stupid initially, but with time you become a master.
So does anyone have any questions? You can raise your hands or you can type it in the chat box. All right, it seems like there are no questions. And to our guests, is there anything else that I probably didn't ask you, but you'd like to share with our audience?
Let me just go. So maybe we just giving a tip on how we started can actually help. Like me, for example, I'm a self learner. Like I learned myself. I just like we've discussed earlier. There are free resources, YouTube, free code camp, and the likes that can start out with, and then you speak to people, try to build something. The knowledge comes in building. Like if you keep acquiring knowledge, you keep reading, but you're not building it, you are not having that practical skill. You just try to build something, reach out to people, and yeah, you get there.
Right, thank you very much for that. And I guess Mr. Ifeoluwa, Mr. Owolabi, and Mr. Michael, thank you very much for taking time out to attend this webinar to share your knowledge and your insights. And thank you to everyone who joined this webinar. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned a lot from this webinar. So that will be all for today. Thank you to everyone for joining.